Life can be so challenging. Where can you go to get divine clarification, help, and advice? Well, may I introduce Natasha Venter, medium, coach, and direct connection to your guides and angels. Through her podcast, Life Clarifications, Natasha will help you navigate through and create your life's destiny. My name is Kevin McDonald, co-host of this podcast, and I've seen her work and know that through her incredible talent, you can be changed forever. So let's start another episode of Life Clarifications with Natasha. And there she blows. How you doing, kiddo?
I'm doing well. It's just this interesting time that we're in, isn't it? With changing, coming out, doing what we're doing, new schedules, trying to figure out how to manage being in a bunch of energy when we're not used to it.
It's a whole different thing because you were just telling me your schedule for today, and you were on playground duty virtually all day long and stuff, and it's a beautiful day, but it's still, you had a bunch of kids out there to mess with.
When you have over 120, 30, somewhere in there, kids, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders at one time, it's a little bit of a dance.
Yes, you do. Now, it's been a while since I've been in 6th grade. Do they still play baseball and football and do all that kind of stuff?
We got a group that plays kickball. We got one paraeducator who's on campus safety with me, and she likes to play kickball with them. So she gets a majority of them playing. But then, it's like there's a group over there that likes to play soccer, so that they're fine. And then you just have the kids that are just, it's the end of 6th grade. So they're almost too cool for school.
Right.
And so, you're dealing with, that energy that's just too cool for school. And, it's like, it was fine when it was a smaller group because we were hybrid, which was half, came Monday and Tuesday, half. But now all those personalities are crammed together for 5 days. And so it's just we're 3 days into it. And it's like, oh, yes, I remember that personality. Oh, I remember that wonderful personality. Oh, yes, that wonderful personality. And I always kind of go with the thing that, our kids, as adults, what drives us crazy that our kids do, like speaking too much, having a personality that's a little bold, all those kinds of things. Sometimes they're the strengths when they become adults. And, I try to put that in my perspective all the time. Well, I know they're going to make a great lawyer or something someday, or something that can be, boisterous or strong or, just that kind of stuff. And it's like, you just hope that they can navigate. And, it's my idea of, like, we got a couple of kids that we're just kind of teaching them to do different because maybe at home they don't get all the tools. And so that's what school is about, is kind of rounding off those little bit of tools that we can teach and inspire and give a gift of, and, balance. And, I've had a couple kids come back to me, that have graduated. And, like I had one kid that I heard him mumbling going across the playground, "I'm just a bad kid." Da, da, da. And I stopped him. I said, wait a minute. You're a good kid who's making poor decisions that are not better for him. So I bet you if you start thinking about the decisions you're making, you might feel like life is treating you better, but you're a great kid who just doesn't know to do better yet. And he came to me as he was walking down the hallway being a 12th grader. He says, "You know what, Mrs. Venter, that's the time that my life changed."
Good for you. Good for you.
And it's like, and I guess that's why I've been put in school all these years. I can tell it's going to be changing soon, a little bit, altering the timing, but, because everything has a balance and everybody has a timing. Sometimes we're in a moment in life where we're doing this and then it shifts, kind of like this COVID thing shifted us a lot out of what we were doing that doesn't quite feel as right, and it moving us into something that feels a little bit more, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing now. But sometimes we have to go through that transition to figure that out.
Now, do your kids play at Pine Tree Elementary? They had a game they called wall ball. Do your kids play wall ball? I'll tell you what.
Actually, there is there is some that bring little, the bouncy balls.
No, these are using or the red balls, the red balls that you use for like dodgeball and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have those balls there?
Yeah, and we do, and they kick against the wall, the wall. For a long time, we would bring them in with each recess and spraying them down. But we've got so many kids on the playground; they're on the bars and everything like that, and we can't sanitize everything with only 5 minutes in between each group, and then second recess, there's no breaks in between groups coming out. So it's like we just kind of go with it. They can wash their hands. Try not to put your, masks are helping the kids not put their, hands to their face as much, so it's a thing.
I feel sorry for the kids because this is such a different world that we live in that it makes it really hard for I don't know, a 10-year-old to wear their mask and to take care of the hygiene the way they're supposed to and all that kind of stuff. It's a different time for the kids, and I applaud you for working with them.
Well, thank you. And I want to put this in perspective though, that if you look at any major generation, we've all had something. And I think that actually my generation has been more graceful at not having as much, because you think about the kids that, were the teenagers or the 10-year-olds during the 60s, with that. And then you think of the kids who were during the Vietnam War. I know that I was kind of on that edge with the VM. I was still young enough that I didn't really get that influence, and my parents really didn't watch TV, so we didn't get a lot of that politics. They knew it because they were adults, but they didn't have it really in the house to where it brought us down, I'm going to say. We would watch the news, but not really, and it was a conversation, but not really a conversation. Then we had, the wars, and then we had, it's like, there's all these different scenarios that each generation has kind of had to have, and this is theirs. And, maybe we all needed to learn better boundaries. Maybe we all needed to learn, when we're next to each other and we're yelling at them and we're spitting in their face, that's not comfortable. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of distance here. And I get that, kids should learn how to hug. I mean, everything has a plus and a minus. It's the plus and the minus of life. You have cause and effect, and so you can have good cause and effect, and you have bad cause and effect. And so there's this dance that we're all kind of doing, but it is learning how to navigate it. And, like I had one kid today, she goes, I just hate these masks. I said, I do too. I hate them too. And I've had to wear them all of today outside, and you're only out here for a little bit. And I had to wear out here. You can go get a mask break if you want, just go off and sit over here in the shade by yourself for a while, because you have to be, so far apart to have a mask break. Go have a mask break. You can do that as long as you want, but when you're around others, when you're around other kids, we have to be legal. And, and I'm sorry, but I'm always around somebody, so I can't take mine off. And it kind of helps them to kind of see that they're not the only ones that's feeling this. And that's one thing that, I think it's nice when we're a little bit more vulnerable and we can just kind of say that, we're all dealing with something. I was talking with someone today and she's struggling with anxiety. She's got a house full of kids that are going through things, and she's trying to be the best person that she's in her job, and she's struggling to do what she can do being the adult, but then she's still having a struggle being human, even though she's an adult. And so, and Kevin, this is where I'm grateful that we did this, because I actually sent her the meditation that we did together.
Oh, okay, good.
And I want to introduce this, that I am starting to do meditations, and Kevin is wonderfully with the audio putting them together. So he's taking my voice and then putting it to music that is fitting of the meditation. And so I gave this to her because I know she's struggling really bad. And it's like, this meditation, I think I'm just going to give it as a gift because so many people are struggling, and it's nice just to kind of go, okay, I'm feeling green, I'm feeling okay, I'm feeling breath, I'm feeling this, and I'm hoping that this kind of meditation can be helpful to those that are struggling, because we're all doing our better. Today was a day where I told somebody, I said, today was hard. It was a hard day, but you still see me kind of light and bright, and because I know how to kind of ride it. I don't sink into it like I used to because I got the tools. So I kind of rode it, but even today was a little bit of, okay, I know I had 45 minutes for lunch earlier this year, and just because I have 20 minutes for lunch now, it's only for 3 weeks. I can do it. It's like whatever you can do to kind of get ourselves together. But this new energy field that we're feeling, because like I know, Kevin, you don't really leave the house, so when you're around others, it's like it's probably a kind of an energy shift.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
I mean, because you used to be, you used to be around a lot of people riding the bus. And so
Right.
you got used to having a lot of different energy around you. But when you're in the home and not necessarily around a lot of people, or you're always around the people you're used to, it's an energy shift when you have to get out there. And I've had a couple kids that just kind of, at the end of the day sometimes, because
Oh,
they're
sure.
just struggling.
Well, and kids are kids are kids. I mean, when you're talking about a 8 to 12 year old, because sixth grade is what, 12? Yeah, right about 11 and 12, right?
Yeah. But
And
we
that
go from pre-K, because we have a pre-K group, all the way up to sixth grade. We're so elementary.
right, right. So, but a sixth grader, they're like everybody else. They think they know everything because they're in sixth grade. They're the top of the heap. Wait till next year. They'll be. Now, do you have junior high schools up there or middle schools?
We
Junior
have
high.
middle school, so seventh and eighth, and then we have high school, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Ninth grade is a tough one. That's a really tough year for kids because they are at the bottom of the heap and everybody else picks on them.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. So it makes it difficult. But that's okay. Now you live in the rural area of Washington, so you don't have like a prison around you or anything.
No.
So your mix of children is a little bit more tolerable than my ex-wife. She worked at Kent Elementary, which is right down the street from the Kent Justice Center.
Mm.
And it's surrounded by apartments, and the apartments were full of people who were, shall we say, dysfunctional, and and had a member of the family at the Kent Justice Center, because that's a regional prison or a jail, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so it was tough. It was tough. So, but I'm glad that you're there for them. That's important.
Yeah. We do have, a lot of Washington does have a lot of the farmers, the workers come in, and they're not always on the farm. I mean, I've known a lot of people that do landscaping and other jobs, and very hardworking people, and an amazing group of people. And then we have 7 reservations around us up here.
Oh, okay. Well, see that
So
takes a
we
yeah.
so we have a diverse group. We don't have the Russian community like up in Bellingham, or they're more Bellingham than here. So we don't have the Russians as much, the Russian community. But it's, we're pretty diverse up here. It's nice.
Well,
I'm grateful.
it's good. So, what's going else is going on with Natasha Vetter? Oh, by the way, before we forget and move too far away from it, how can they? And I think it's very nice of you to gift the meditation. If you do that, or she will always accept donations. I'm pretty darn sure. So, how does somebody get a hold of that?
They can email me,
Okay.
or they can get a hold of me through my website at angelicclarifications.com. And Kevin will have the ability of navigating it too, so he can put that, out on his system too, because you actually have a copy of it too. So, if somebody gets a hold of you too, you can send it out. But they can get a hold of me through my website, angelicclarifications.com, or Natasha at angelicclarifications.com.
It's a very nice meditation, and you voice it beautifully.
Well, thank you. I know my girlfriend who was pregnant several years ago, and I would be talking to her, and I would stop, and she goes, "Don't stop! You put me in that other place." I go, "I'm that good," and she goes, "Yes." And that was before this was even before my mom passed away. So I have always kind of had this lilt of putting people and getting them to trust where they're at. So.
Well, you should continue putting together that meditation and in other forms of ways of helping people center themselves.
Yes, I will, because I'm going to put one together that's about finding those parts of us that are calling to us to be found. That could be a guide, that can be a tool. Like I one time got the Trinity staff in one of my meditations doing this. And so there's these parts that I can do. There's another meditation that I do that is like walking down a hallway, and you find a room that needs to be looked into. And that's where I found my past life, where I was a schizophrenic.
Oh, beautiful.
And because I was wondering why I was not concentrating. And so I went in, I found my schizophrenic past life, and so I was able to bring that part of me, because people with brain scenarios, I'm just going to call them scenarios, because they're not disabilities necessarily, they're abilities, that they're just scenarios. And we all have something that is not quite easy to navigate through. And with that like with this past life, I found out that it was sitting in a dark corner in its like really, just breakdown moment. And it was just mumbling to itself. And this being from representation of that past life. And so I talked with it, coaxed it, kind of like I coax a kid off the playground when they're really depressed, and found out that, since I brought it to be part of my team, and my team is kind of like at a round table. My spirit team is like at a round table. Everybody has a voice. Nobody's better than anybody else. And I brought it to the team because when a schizophrenic or a manic depressant, or when they're on, they're brilliant. They've got ability to do things and navigate things. And so for my team, we are working together with this being that he was, and just supporting him when he's going through his waves. But when we need somebody to multitask, we call on him, because he can multitask really well. And so that helps me, like for me, having my day and then coming into this, that part of my team helps me get here to do my better.
That's good. That's good. Now, a quick story for you, because as you know, manic depressive is another name for it these days, which is more of the rage and stuff, is bipolar. And my my son, who's in Japan, is married, and his wife is, we haven't had her diagnosed yet, but we're pretty darn sure, based upon what she does, that she can be, oh, I'm so happy one moment, and then slap somebody the next. And when she dives into that depression, she dives hard.
Yeah.
And so, and I did a podcast not too long ago, and the gal, she is on medication. And it stables her and allows her to live her life more normally. So it's nothing to be fooling around with. It is a very serious thing.
Yes, it is. Any any scenario we have, it is about honoring it. Like for me, I just found out this week that I cannot have vinegar anymore. Chalk another one to the list of things I can't have.
Which of course, when you told me that, I was like, so I don't know that I vinegar, yuck, and I don't like sour stuff anyway.
But it's in mayonnaise, salad dressing, ketchup. It's in and many, and there's, it's amazing when you look what is really in something. We eat things that we don't pay attention to what's in it.
You need to. You really need.
Yeah, we really do. And so with that, but I do pay attention to that because, and I noticed it within just a week that it was starting to bother me, and I'm used to tagging things pretty quickly, but I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing, but I can just tell right now my body doesn't enjoy the acids because I'm having problems with tomatoes too. So I'm going to talk to my naturopath and we're going to try to but I know that as we're aligning to be our greater selves, our body is changing. Our body is really changing, and we got to honor that we can't just go out and eat the old crap that we used to. Our bodies aren't letting us anymore. And even my husband, who doesn't believe in this, is starting to notice that, I probably shouldn't eat that anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, it's see what you call your body's changing. We're just getting old, and as you age, your body, there's certain things that you just probably should not do anymore.
And I would say that's a truth. That would be a really big truth. At the same time, though, there's just this other part, because I notice the more in tuned I get with my intuitiveness, I can't eat things at certain vibrations. I can tell the difference in the hamburger, how that animal was treated at the end of its life.
Yeah, well, you know what you're going to end up doing.
I know. No, I cannot be a vegetarian. No.
Oh,
My body, I'm a protein girl. I have to have, I get the shakes if I don't get enough protein. And since being the beans and stuff is not something that I enjoy very much, I just kind of go, nope.
It's the tofu queen of the Northwest.
Nope.
Well, and my ex-wife and her husband, they are vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And they are such strict vegans that when my son and his wife were staying at their house, and my son was bodybuilding at the time, so he needed a lot of protein, and so he bought some chicken breasts and cooked off some chicken breasts. He threw the pan away.
Wow.
Now, I think that might be just a little extreme.
Perspective and belief systems are interesting, and that's, I think, what's so hard about life lately is, boy, don't we have a stretch of different belief systems and perspectives?
We really do.
We really do, and it's just amazing how we're trying to navigate this. Like for me, since I just went, can't have that anymore. It was like there's a little bit of depression, but yet at the same time, it's like, okay, here I go. So like last night we made a salad, which I usually don't enjoy. My body doesn't digest raw vegetables very well. And so, but I had a chicken salad. I went and got a chicken that was already roasted because I knew I didn't have any time. Last night was one of those dinners where I was like, okay, let me at least buy the cooked chicken so that I can do the salad.
You're going to throw something together and it's going to be in a hurry.
It's going to be in a hurry. And it was, it was I cut up a bunch of vegetables and then had the chicken. And, but it was like no salad dressing because either I had or dairy. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, and the other thing is there are salad dressings that you can buy that don't have any vinegar in it, and that they use as a stabilizing agent, but those are chemicals that you are then throwing into your body. So
Exactly. And I'm just going to say this. I used to be a very picky eater, very picky eater.
what?
I'm better now, but there's certain things that don't go down my throat. And so with that, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. But we all have something. That's what I want to get across is we all have something that we're managing right now. We all have something that is laying on our plate that we are having to navigate through. And if we can try to do it to the better, yes, we're going to have a grief moment. We're going to have a grief moment. And grief is anger, sadness, manic depressant sometimes, because one minute you're happy and the next minute you're sad. So you can go from laughter that is crying in grief to really crying because you're so sad. Extremes. So with that we're going to be going through something that's not quite palatable. And remember that our kids, if they're going back to school, they're going to try to be better at school. So they're going to be kind of off when they come home. And that's where I always said to my kids, because they struggled with this sometimes, being on at school and then being off. I said, we can always be kind. I know you're tired. And I know that you're not always going to say things the better way, but yet you can still be kind. And that's the thing about when we're working with something is checking in with our perspective on where are we coming at? What is our oh, I just had the word.
You just had a what?
The word, and then it went out. Integrity. What is our purpose? What is our behind the story of why we're saying this? Are we angry, or are we trying to get a kind of tough love moment across? So what is that? What is our purpose for doing this conversation? And why are we trying to struggle to be perfectionists when life is really being very unperfect right now?
That's very true. That's very true. I hadn't really looked at it that way, but I try not to be a perfectionist because I know I'm not. Which is why I need a housekeeper. Anybody want to be? Just kidding. But that's so. But things are working out. Things are coming back to normal a little bit.
They are.
That by the time fall runs around and you get back to getting ready to get school going, but you see, you're going to be evolving past that anyway over time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to, the fall is going to be different than it was now and than it was this winter and stuff. So that's really good. So you're going to continue to move forward, and that I think is where everybody needs to continue. Well, nobody needs to do anything, but if you choose to,
yes,
you can continue to move forward. And whether it be with a vision board or whether it be something that's just in your head when you meditate, when you get Natasha's meditation and you sit down and do that, it's only 15 minutes long, but it really is very nice. And I implore you to get that from her.
Yeah, it's one that I feel like that's if somebody can do during lunch,
Sure.
it's just a recentering. Or if something kind of like when I was doing it, I was kind of picture somebody having a meeting and it didn't quite go as well as we wanted it to. And they just had to go take a moment and they would sit in their car and they would play it. And then they would able to go back into work just a little bit different perspective or just a little bit less,
yeah, it's a perfect length for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go put it in your handheld computer and then just put it on your radio and just close your eyes, and it's 15 minutes long, so you can have a little bit of bite to eat and you can still get your 30-minute break, and that you can recharge. It'll recharge your batteries. It really will.
Yeah, because I do this sometimes during the day. Like today, I had to take a phone call. Well, I apologize. I'm eating while we're talking here, so I was trying to do a phone call. So it was one of my days where everything rode at the same time, at the same level. It didn't. It wasn't down here where it was calm. It was up here where it was. But we all have these days, and I just want people to know that if you have them, take care of yourself. Do these things that even if you just take a moment and drink some water, or take a moment and just say, okay, okay.
I really do feel sorry for young mothers and mothers with like preteen kids and stuff, because when I was working, we had the ability, because I worked a lot of hours, I wasn't there for a lot of it. But
Mm-hmm.
she was the one that had to be there when they came home from school, had a snack, and you went out to play, and had to deal with all that kind of stuff. And so it was hard for her to take care of herself. How do
Mm-hmm.
you advocate a mom take care of herself with kids that are grabbing onto her ankles as she's going into the restroom to use the restroom, and they won't leave her alone?
And
How do you help?
and especially single parents,
Yeah,
especially
that's
single parents.
that's a tough job.
Um, and depending on where life is for them, you know, like if they're going from work and then driving to pick up the kids from daycare, I would say stop around the corner before you pull into the daycare parking lot and take 5 or 10 minutes sitting in the car, listening to music, getting a drink of water. I'm not suggesting you drink on the road, but metaphorically have that glass of wine and just breathe mentally. Have a mental glass of wine. That kind of just the sip and just, I can do this. And just take that moment transitioning from point A to point B. Or in that, if depends on the day, it may be, moment M to N, because they've been everywhere that day. But if we can just take that moment just to find, I don't want to call it center, but a center-ishness. Just that whatever it is, that center-ishness that just helps you just navigate into the next moment. And it's okay to tell the kids, I need a moment. Go away, please.
Good luck
With
with
that.
them.
I understand that. But even my dog, who wants to follow, or my cat, who follows me in, I'll purposely shut the door in their face. Because it's like, it's just that we have to have some kind of boundaries. And yes, I understand that while we're taking that minute to go to the bathroom, life can be being destroyed on the outside of the house. But it's that moment, it's sometimes if we don't take that moment, we don't find our moment. And they just keep adding up. And even if you put the kids to bed and you sit down and you find a book that can just send you away. Sometimes we get caught up in watching TV and TV and TV and TV, and that's that stimulation, keeping that stimulation going. But I find that for me, because we made the choice of not having any TV in our room, and I'm kind of glad because there's nothing electronic, because I have to charge my phone, which is across the room. But I end up reading, and that calmness calms me. And there's sometimes where I just light a candle and I stare at the candle for a few minutes. There's just these moments that we can do, because sometimes lighting a candle takes 3 seconds. But like that one time where I was really having a hard moment and you gave me that, what was it, a minute or two? It was just about a minute, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
And I lit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles in that time. And each one I just took first, it just took me a second or two to do that. And when we can do that moment of just saying, I create magic in my life, let this flame represent magic in my life, then a lot of times that can help us move forward.
See, that was more of a symbolic moment for you. It didn't take very long at all, but what it did is it just allowed you to focus on something that you could center on that could be the focus of everything at that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, what in the hell is the matter with you two? You don't have a TV in your bedroom? Did you not know that that is America? That is what we live for, is to have TVs in our bedrooms so that we can sit there. And I'm telling you what, you guys need to go to Costco.
If I watch TV at night, I'll stay awake. I literally will stay awake. And so for me, not watching TV puts me to sleep because I'm a night owl. So I'll just keep watching the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
Well, but I just wanted to point out that look that you gave me when I said that that's the American way. That's as close to a FU look as you could give. Because you were trying to determine whether or not I was serious or not.
I know I was, because no, I know that most people have a TV in their room, and I can honor them for that. But even my kids, when they were growing up, they didn't have TVs in their room. Now, when my youngest was high school, she had insomnia and all that kind of stuff. So there, we kind of shifted that a little bit. And that was about the time when the peak of my husband's sobriety was starting to come around the corner. So there was a lot of stress in the house. And so for her, it was the difference between depression and not, or depression and less depression, I would say. And so we just kind of helped her move forward through that.
See, the whole thing is complete. See, my kids never had a TV in their room either. I had a TV in my room, but in those days, you had a choice of the NBC Baseball Game of the Week, golf, the Johnny Weissmuller Theater, or the Shirley Temple Theater. And that was all that you had to watch, because that's all there was. And it was black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to go figure out how to go live our lives differently,
yes,
than they do today. And it's hard. It's hard dealing, poor people who have to deal with all the technology that's out there. And they got a 5-year-old that knows how to work their smartphone better than they do.
No. Oh my, I know. It's a different time. It's just a different time. I was talking to someone that it's like, boy, boredom in the car is no longer.
No.
I learned my alphabet being bored in the car. I learned the different types of diesel trucks. I come from a trucking family, and my grandfather actually helped get the railroad tracks up and over the mountain. He was one of the guys that did that. So and did a lot of the streetcar work in downtown Seattle. And so with that I learned a lot of the diesel trucks driving backwards in one of my uncle's Volkswagens.
Well, I have something that nobody will understand when I say this. And that is, when we were a family of 5, I was the youngest of 3 children. And whenever we went on a road trip, I got the hump. Nobody knows what that means today.
I know. I know what it means. Boy, does that
people are going, what did he say? Did he say he got the hump? Yes. In those days, all the cars were rear wheel drive. Mm-hmm. And the drivetrain went through a hump through the back seat, and so the kids.
There was less, in other words, there was less padding, and so when you hit a bump, you hit the bump.
you hit the hump, and it was, and so, but that's so long ago that was, gosh, 60 years ago almost.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I know, but that's saying how much life changes. And so with that, where we're at, I want people to at least try to put some guilt away about my child is having to go through this, or my sibling is trying to go through that. Because we're all having to go through something at some point in time in our lives. I mean, you think about the kids that were growing up, coming across on the wagon trains, and possibly both their parents passed, as they're carrying their dolls, trying to figure out who do they live with, which a stranger says, I'll take them. And our kids are having a hard time now. And these are our ancestors.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many ancestors that I'm getting mediumship readings that are coming in and talking with their family. And these families don't know who they are, but yet they're coming in saying, you can do it. This is what I had to work through. You can do it. I'll help you with the tools. We'll give you the strength. It's okay. You can do it.
I don't know if you remember, but there used to be a television show called Wagon Train.
Yes.
Actually,
I learned how to read with Lewis and Moore. So he's a Western author. And so,
wonderful author. Loved him.
Yes.
He was absolutely great. But on Wagon Train, which, by the way, Clint Eastwood, it was when he was a brand new actor when he was young. He was in that, but never, not once, because they were always going on the wagon train and they never seemed to get anywhere, and nobody ever had to go to the bathroom. That just amazed me that they, in those days they didn't do that sort of thing. But think about it. You're on a wagon train and you're going and you got to use the facilities.
It's wide open.
Yeah, it's the prairie. It's
the prairie. It's wide open.
It's flat.
Mm-hmm. And one of our fifth grade teachers, they do this report where you have to basically say that you're on the wagon train and you're starting out. Where are you starting out, and what happens on your journey? What happens to you? Are you a male? Are you a female? Some girls are males, some males are females on their story because they're writing a new story. Some of them lose families, some of them don't. Some of them make friends. But we show. I was in the resource room at this time, and we were showing videos of the wagon trains and the dust and the rut holes and the animals, and like they would start out with their belongings and get to where they were at with 3 things.
Yep.
And it just was amazing. All this different, you would see graves on the side of the road because they just had to bury where they were at, because they were basically, kids would have to walk 15, 20 miles a day in dust.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to stay there, because that's our past. But I'm putting things in perspective, that maybe it's not that anybody's story is worse than or greater than. It's not. I'm not trying to do that.
No, but they were tough. That's I think your point. The point you're making is that it was a tough time to live, and we're lucky. We have indoor plumbing. You can take a shower almost whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good.
And we may struggle with getting food. We may struggle with making money. We may struggle. I know that there's a lot of people that are homeless right now. It's like it's a struggle sometimes to do things. And I just hope that people can try to have a perspective to say, if they have walls around them, that they can say, I'm lucky, I'm grateful, I'm worthy to have more or better than what we have. I can't say that. I'm grateful for what I have. I think I've even asked the question, if I was to win $1 million, what would I do? Fix my front porch.
What's the matter?
I love my home. My home is simple. Yes, it looks like I have stuff, but like, this angel here, no, there, that angel right there. I got her at a thrift store for $1. So a lot of my things are just things that I gathered because they called to me and they were reasonable to do that. So we can have life and navigate through the best and the better that we can. But it is about saying, what am I grateful for instead of, oh crap. Like I told, my coworker, I said, well, I'm grateful that we had time for lunch, through part of this year. Because I'm, right now it's barely time to eat, So it's like finding something to be grateful for so that it makes it doable to move forward.
Yes, and being grateful is, I firmly believe that we should be grateful for everyone and everything that we have in this life, because it's not going to be, I was just sitting around the other day, not doing much anything, just listening to music, which I want to do from time to time. And I was just thinking, this is like heaven. I'm relaxed. I'm not in any pain anywhere. I'm enjoying the music. I'm having a good time. I can't think of anything that is better than this moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of us think in those terms because we're busy. We've got this, I'm stuck in my house, basically. I leave once a day so that I can listen to sports radio for a half hour, 45 minutes. But other than that, I'm here because there's no place I really would rather go. So I'm here. But I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, and I think that's where if I can give anything about this conversation, and please, if somebody has a question or if they want to make a comment, please do that, because this is about a time to support you going through something, going through what they can, and I don't ever want you to think that I'm saying that everybody who has a different mind has a different scenario that they're navigating through. Some people are struggling really bad with anxiety right now. Some are really struggling with depression really right now. Some people are just struggling with, how do I just get up in the morning? And it's not labeled depression or anxiety. It's just basically, how do I get up in the morning? There's just these moments, like this morning, usually it's late start Wednesday at school, and I'm like going, well, that's over. So you got to get up, girl.
Yeah, and so what time do you have to get up to go to school?
So I have to be at school at 8:55.
Oh, that's not horrible, but still, you got to get up by 7, I would imagine, or 7:15. Or what time does your husband get out of the house?
My husband is one that he is usually out of the house by 6:45, and he gets home around 6.
He's a hard-working man
He's a hard-working man.
Yeah, he and I appreciate that about him.
I tell him daily.
Yes, I'm no longer a hardworking man because I already did that.
Well, actually, you are a hardworking man. You just have it in a different scenario. See, that's the thing is that people think that because somebody works out of the house and somebody works inside the house, there's some house moms that they work harder than anybody outside the house.
No question.
And so looking at our own life, how can we give ourselves a breath to say, I'm grateful that I actually can breathe today. Sometimes that's the moment we got to take. I'm just grateful I can breathe today.
Yep.
It's just, we're in this mix of just life happening, and it's just, and we're coming out into a different world, but yet it's the same world. It's the new normal of the same world.
Yeah, it is, but it's interesting because sometimes Facebook will run a post that you did on an anniversary, and my high school best friend died 2 days from now last year.
Oh.
And so they reposted that, and it's amazing the number of people that didn't catch it the first time who caught it the second time, and are everybody is. they're eternally grateful for the life that they have and are sad when somebody, a contemporary,
Mm-hmm.
loses their life and moves to the other side. But one of the gal had a wonderful thought. She said, well, he's now in heaven and that's where he should be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so she was looking at it from a positive point of view of how could she say something that might make it better for someone.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's we've lost a lot of people, but I can tell you though that there is times where people end up passing. Oh God, it hurts when it's close. It really hurts when it's close.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts, and when we can just kind of navigate through, ouch, that, and yet at the same time, kind of like my life, I was pregnant 6 weeks away from having my first kid when my dad passed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any nice clothes, so my minister that I was at church with at that time, that she gave me clothes to wear to my dad's funeral because I didn't have anything, that would be suitable. And then I just had my last kid, was 3 weeks old when my mom had Lou Gehrig's diagnosis. So there's these things that happen when we have life going out and life coming in. And that's the story of life, is basically every ending is a new beginning. And, it's amazing when we can just keep remembering those that we love. Like I keep talking about my parents to my kids because that's our story.
Of course. Well,
That's our story.
you want them to get to know your parents. They never really met them, so or remember them. So it's good for them to know on a cellular level that they meant so much to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good. And if you listen to my Independence Report every Monday, we talk about the reason why I don't necessarily get upset when somebody dies is because they didn't die.
Yeah.
I know that they've gone to the other side and they are doing some incredible work and they're doing some fun stuff.
They are. Yes, they are very much. Now, does that mean that I'm sad that I don't get to hug my mom and my dad or my family that's all passed, or hear their voice? I still have my mom's tape recorder from, when somebody calls them, in the tape machine. I still have her recording. I still have that machine. I took it out, was going to do something with it, and I politely put it back. And my mom's been gone about 23 years now. I still can't listen to her voice.
I have to tell you this story. My dad, he passed away in 2004. And 3 months before he passed away, I had been doing radio stuff, and I had something that I called Family Legacies, which was I would record an elder as telling their life story so that they could then record it. I could record it and present it to their family as something for them to keep and something for them to remember. Because we used to have a tape of my grandmother who couldn't carry a note with a bucket. And she sang happy birthday one time on the tape, and it was so endearing, and over time we lost the tape. And it erased and it degraded and it was gone. And so we lost my grandmother speaking. So I didn't want that to happen for my folks. So I interviewed my dad. And we had an hour and a half interview, just like we do here. And then I edited it and so forth. Well, subsequently, he went into surgery to have part of his lung removed because he had lung cancer. Don't say a word to me. Had lung cancer. Because I know what you're going to say. And he had lung cancer. And he passed. Then he had a stroke and he passed away. And then So when we had his memorial service, I took his interview and edited down to 5 minutes. Included when he met my mom, what he thought of life, how he would like to be remembered, all of those things.
That would have been a gift to listen to.
And I gave it to the organist, and I said, when I'm done with my eulogy, I want you to play this. And nobody knew what I was going to play, but it was him in his voice filling up the entire church with his voice and his story about his life and so forth. And it was really impactful. And so I also then took that interview and made copies of it and gave it to everybody. My sister still has it.
No, I bet.
Has never
listened
to it, just like you.
Yeah. It's like, I understand where they go to. I'm not sad that my dad was finally, because my dad passed away of lung cancer too, colon cancer, and it metastasized up into his lung. That I'm not sad that necessarily that he's light, and I'm sad that, my kids would have been different if he would have been in their life.
Yep.
I'm sad that he would start a sentence, I would finish it. I'm also grateful that I didn't have to watch my parents be old.
That sucks, by the way. Just so you know.
I didn't have to watch my parents both passed away when they're in 56. And actually my mom, my dad, and my mom's brother all passed away when they were 56, 57. I didn't have to watch them get old.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have to do that caregiving, and that's in a mixed blessing to me. It's I miss those years. I miss those 30 years, but I also
did your share of caregiving for your mom.
Yeah, I did. It was a year. It was a year of not hell, but it was a struggle. My mom was great. I love her. Love you, Mom. Love her.
No, she not here. I'm going to play the medium since you can't medium yourself most of the time. Your mom says she's grateful. She understands what kind of a struggle it was for you.
Yeah, no, she does.
And it was a terrible, terrible thing. It was, and she's just so grateful that you are the person that you are. Yeah. It's just and has turned. And by the way, she's extremely proud of you.
I know she is. My mom, I love my mom. I've always said I had good parents. I was safe at home. Outside my home wasn't safe. A lot of people don't have safe homes. Their parents are like, my kids really didn't have safe homes, sadly, with my husband being an alcoholic and me trying to struggle, through grief half the time or depression. My kids were born when my parents were passing, so they didn't really have a good, loving childhood.
It was a hard start to life.
It was a hard start. My youngest was 1 by the time my mom passed. And so the second year of her life, I was going through grief. How do I become a mom again? How do I become a wife again? How do I become Natasha again? How do I become who I am? And so it was a terrible mix. It was rotten stories. But, we all kind of do life, and we do what we can do, and we navigate through it, and, we keep ourselves moving forward. And that's the thing that I want people to know, that today might be hard. Today might be hellish. Today might be holy fricka-racka-racka-roll, and yet, it can change.
I want you to put this into everybody's head, and that is, today can be easy. Today can be fun. Today can be relaxing. You can have a wonderful time. You can answer the phone when it rings and you're on the radio, which is, you're not supposed to be doing that. So, nope, I don't know who that is. So, yeah, you'll just have to wait. So, anyway, let's talk about cards and how you want to, what questions you want. What question is, and if anybody's, let's try this just for fun.
Okay.
If anybody's listening and you want to ask a quick question of the cards,
And they're going to be the fairy deck.
They're going to be the fairy deck. Put it into the comments right now, and we'll ask the question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Na 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 na.
You know, it's really hard to watch Jeopardy.
Was without him, yeah, I could imagine.
You know, it just
I never watched.
and he's doing a great job. I'm just, you know, you kind of, you know, that, but that isn't that the story of our life right now, that, you know, Jeopardy keeps going on, but yet, you know, it's not the same voice. It's the same format. It's the same everything else, but it's a different voice because it's a different person that's running it. So he has a different kind of intentional navigation of it. You know, he's going to ask these questions different. He's going to tell the stories a little different.
As well he should.
Well he should. And I honor him for that new process. But isn't that the story of our life? That we go into, you know, we've been, let's say, at home doing work, and then we go back into work and we find out there's not a coworker there.
There we go. Okay. She doesn't have a question. All right, never mind.
I have no question though. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is fairies, and anybody who works with fairies, they know that they're the beings of this planet. They are amazing, loving, sometimes treacherous, tormentive, lovingness in themselves beings that just help us be better. Now that could be where if we're not being grounded, they'll trip us and make us fall. They can, if we're not concentrating, they'll steal our car keys to help us be in the moment more. They will navigate through these things that it's like, really? Okay, I get it.
You have personal knowledge about them stealing things from you, your car keys, your garage door opener.
Yes, that was a 6-month ordeal where I found it up in a drawer with a pillow. In a spare bedroom that I never go into, that I organized that room, but yet why would I have my garage door opener up in a room with a pillow? My husband just shakes his head. He just goes, Natasha, I'm not going to even ask.
Yeah, but the thing about you, Natasha, is you may be it may be difficult sometimes, but you are highly entertaining. So,
well, thank you.
Finding the garage door opener in a drawer upstairs, that is pretty entertaining. You have to
that is pretty entertaining. Okay, so I'm just going to ask them, what do we need to hear in this moment that can help someone through their moment in their day? And thank you, Paulette, for listening.
She's becoming a fan of the show. The one that we did earlier today with her and well, she actually participated with her, Eric, and I. And
yes.
Yeah, and she kept us on the straight and narrow because a couple of times we were getting a little.
And I had a conversation with you about that.
Oh well, I know, but you see, Eric is he's like my devil child because he incites me into a train of thought that I wouldn't necessarily normally go if it wasn't him.
Yeah, I know. I love listening to you guys. You guys, yeah. Okay, so I'm just picking cards that are called to me. Oh, yes. So, there we go. New home. So this doesn't necessarily mean that we're moving a physical home, but it might be that we're moving to a new job. It can mean that we're moving to a new part of us that that as we are moving, because like for me, you know, my body is changing, so I'm kind of moving to a new home with my body. So it's that moving forward. It's that moving is a step of the right moving is the step to the right direction for you. So know that as life is changing, you're going to be okay, because if you look, I got light coming in, the sun's shifted a little bit. Look at the fairy on top of that flower. Now, these fairies are very pleasant looking in these decks, but sometimes they're not necessarily. And when we're doing things, yeah, and as we're doing things, just remember that movement can come into something that's wonderful. We just gotta have to navigate through that shift and change. Okay, this card.
It's so interesting that you said it. You said movement. It just made sense now.
Yeah, movement. Yeah, because moving into a new home, a new home could be just starting a whole new story of our life.
I tell you, no, it made. I'll have to tell you afterwards because it made sense in a whole different way. Because there's a song called "Hey Jude." I don't know if you've ever heard it. Mm-hmm. And Paul McCartney wrote a lyric that was, "The movement you need is on your shoulder," and he didn't understand what it meant. You just explained what it means. Mm-hmm. The movement you need is right there. It's on your shoulder.
It's right on our, yeah.
Holy crap. Nobody else in the world has got that except for me right now. My God.
Glad to help. Because I mean, there's always a new home. It's like a new perspective is a new home. A new truth is a new home. A new, it's like what, it's just something like you just gotta, wow, you kind of created into a new home. So a holiday. So the card is upside down. So the answer you're looking for can be found during a vacation, retreat, or a holiday getaway. So remember that if we don't think about taking that moment, because a holiday could be the 5 minutes that you sit in the car as you're going between work and picking up the kids from daycare. You can take that 5 minutes and just be in a holiday, So I'm taking this as that, people can say new home. Well, that would be a new house or a new apartment. No, it could be a new perspective. So holiday, if you go and get quiet for a minute or two, you can really get some conversation with your guides. You can get that meditative state of just being a little bit more aware of your decisions that you're making. So there is these moments where if we change our perspective and know that we can take a holiday wherever and we'll get answers when we take that moment for ourselves, that clarity. Okay, and then it wants the middle card. So remember that around us, there's always spiritual teachers. So be willing to listen, because sometimes, like what Kevin just said about music, music can be our spiritual teacher. Listening to a conversation as we're walking in a grocery store can be our spiritual teacher. We ourselves are spiritual teachers. So your life purpose involves learning or teaching others about healing and spirituality. So we all are each other's teachers. We're all each other's spiritual teachers. So with that, just know that just start being in your life. You're safe. Okay, one more I hear. One more card I hear. Connect with nature. Connect with nature. You're rejuvenated and inspired by spending time outdoors. Up here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going into spring, summer. And so with that it is time to be getting outside. There's many times where when I am struggling, I'll go and water my plants. And that minute of taking time helps us navigate through what we're going through. So it's okay to be where we're at. Just remember that taking the time to have a holiday in the middle of connecting with nature and deciding what your perspective is to get a new home can bring in some spiritualness.
That actually was very good on several fronts. First, one of them, which is deciding your perspective. We all have that ability to decide our perspective and where you are at that particular moment, because you can't be anywhere else but what you are, where you are.
Exactly. And sometimes we have to just shift something to take a breath. I know there's many times when I was walking up and down the hallway of school going, okay. And I would take a breath in between this door and that door. Because going from this door was a responsibility. Going into that door was a responsibility for many. And so I had to take my breath in between this door and that door. And it's just navigating what we can,
And surviving,
And
walking through that door.
yeah, and sometimes I'm hoping that we can do better than survive. But I know sometimes it is just a surviving moment. So just know that each moment has a moment that we can take a breath to get past where we're at.
When I'm talking about surviving, I'm talking about you walking into that door with the kids in the classroom and being able to figure out how you are going to negotiate that for the better good of everybody.
But it takes me sometimes standing outside that door for just 3 seconds and going, okay. And then I move in. Because it's not always where, and sometimes I walk in going, oh, I should have taken a moment, and then I go, remember that for next time. Okay. And then I remember for next time.
This ain't working out well. Back up. All engines stop. Let's try this again.
Yep. But that's where sometimes I go to the back of the classroom, take that moment, and then step into it again. So it's however we can do it.
Oh, I agree. I tell you what, I learned so much in this. I am so pleased. I have to write this down.
So I'm glad to be of service for you. And please remember those that are listening. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you just have to remember. See, it's all about me anyway. Yeah. So it's so that's just the way it goes.
I appreciate you.
The movement you need is on your shoulder. That's wonderful. Oh, I'm dead. I fell down and died. Oh no!
No, you didn't die. You just fell down. I still hear you. So you're still. Well, actually, I still hear people when they die. So that's not saying anything.
Help me! I've fallen and I can't get up.
I like that terminology better.
I've done
even though that's still not great, but it's better than dying.
Yes,
so many people use language like, "Oh, that's killing me. Oh, that hurts me." Oh, and I'm like going, oh, cancel, clear, delete that. I am very much when I hear somebody saying that's killing me, I'm like going, it's amazing that that's shifting me right now, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you can't die. So it's not possible. So you can recreate yourself anew, but you can't die.
No. Well, my love to everyone. And please remember, there's a couple things that if you want to get a hold of me for a session, you can go to my website. Oh, that was good.
All right. I get it. Yeah.
Thank you, Paula. So if you would like to get a hold of me for a session, you can reach me on my website at angelicclarifications.com. So make sure there's an S at the end. Or you can reach me at natasha@angelicclarifications.com. Also, if you're interested in that meditation, I would love to reach out and give it to you for, just to support you in your day and just to take a breath. I've got 2 friends that are listening to it and they're both enjoying it. So I would love to give this to you to have that. Oh, I can do it.
And if you are grateful for this meditation, please send her a offering.
Or even just on my website, I would love to put your gratitude or what you're thinking about it so that others can hear your story. So thank you. So everyone know that this moment is this moment. The next moment, you never know what the universe has planned for you. So enjoy looking to see what's going to come to you.
And remember, the movement you need is on your shoulder. Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we got. See you next time on My Independence Report.